Welcome everyone to episode 8 of the draft. This one will be the Cookout 400 at Martinsville. We have Phil, who's on vacation out in California at Sonoma. Got a picture at Sonoma. That's a quiet track this time of year. And so we have a fill-in here. Fill-ins, I guess pinch hitters we can call them, are 1-0. So no pressure, Chris. And you're filling in for a guy who has 0 wins. So there's no pressure. We'll see what you can do. Tino's joining us as always. But we normally do this at the end. But Chris, why don't you tell everyone who you are, where everyone can find your stuff? We'll do it at the beginning here. Then people aren't logging out at the end and don't get to hear all that good stuff. So let's start out with that this week. Welcome to the show. Glad to have you, and thanks for listening every week as well. What's up?
Yeah. So my name's Chris. I am half of the Flag Hunting podcast. The other half, his name's Ian. He covers all our golf content. I do the NASCAR content. We're mainly on Twitter at flag_hunting. We also track all of our picks on Action Network. And when things were going smoothly, we were recording every Tuesday night. But day jobs and parenting and things have come up, so we haven't recorded in quite a while. But we're gonna get back on the recording schedule here at some point. But Ian he writes for Rotoballer, so he writes like 2,500 words a week with all his picks for golf. It's a fantastic article if you've never seen it before. He'll do an article scouting the whole golf course of the week. He'll do one with all his picks. So cool stuff that he does. And then I do all the NASCAR stuff come Friday, Saturday, Sundays. So excited to be here. Long time listener, first time caller, and excited to be filling in for Phil.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, filling in for Phil. That's a tongue twister. Tino, let's just give a shout out to where everyone can find your stuff real quick, and then we'll get into this.
Yeah, for sure. You can follow me at Tino Patino. So it's TinoPattigino across all social medias. You can listen to me on SiriusXM NASCAR Radio Channel 90. Do a show as well, a little TV action with my man Jason Page on Sports Rap. Everything I'm talking about, I'll just be promoting on my social media, so you can follow me there. Whether it's picks like this show and the draft, or some other stuff, I'll be doing my own show, some other stuff around that nature too. I appreciate everyone tuning in here as well, and all the comments have been great throughout this season thus far. My favorite one tonight already is Robert asking, did Phil go on vacation or get fired?
Whoa.
the 0 wins may be why he's thinking that, but nah, just a little vacation there. Happy for Phil to get away, and hopefully he comes back with a win in the win column for his fill in. Man, I'm going off right now. But also Kyle's saying too, Phil is on a ayahuasca retreat. There's a lot of rumors out there for Phil. Maybe Phil can get in the chat himself and let us know where he's at and what he's been up to. But yeah, it's where you can follow me. And guys, keep the comments coming all night long. I'll be pulling them up throughout the show. And if you have any questions, comments, anything you guys want to know, or have a bet that you may want us to talk about, or a pick, or anything that you need more analysis on, we got that for you. So I'm excited to get into it all tonight.
Awesome. Yeah, I got all our win the race stuff pulled up. So if people want to know about a head-to-head or something like that, I can pull stuff pretty quickly. Yeah, Phil's hungry for that win. I mean, he asked his family, "Can I go on the show?" And they said no. And so I don't know, maybe they're saving him from himself, but can't blame him there. Spending some good quality family time. So we'll miss him. He'll be back next week. I'm sure Chris is gonna crush it here. While the fill-ins are 1-0, that means the regulars are winless against the fill-ins. So, all right, let's talk about last week just real quick. Kyle Larson, what a run at the end there. Alex Bowman kind of ate the fence while Kyle Larson was ripping that fence. So, pretty awesome stuff. Now we had boots on the ground there. Chris, you were there. Was that your first time at Homestead? Just tell us about that experience.
It was my first time in Homestead. So I live in Charlotte, so we took the trip down to Homestead to see something different. And man, was it a treat. That might be my favorite track now. I went to Darlington 2 years ago, and I thought that was going to be hard to top, but Homestead's pretty great. But yeah, it was cool. We had pit passes the whole weekend, and I maintain the fact that the pit passes are the coolest thing in any sport. Like, that's just, you don't get any type of access in any other sport than NASCAR to be, so up and close personal with the drivers, the teams, everything going on is just, it's just an unmatched experience. So yeah, had a blast. Got to actually meet Brian Twining, who I'm sure will be in the comments at some point tonight. Got to meet Chris Wormy. So really cool seeing some fellow faces down there as well.
Sweet. Yeah. the last 2 weeks, like, everyone says the same about Vegas, and I've heard that about Homestead too. I have buddies here who go down. They've been down now a couple times, flying down from New York to see it. So, yeah, great track. I can't wait to get there someday to both of them. I wanna go to Vegas and Homestead. Hopefully within the next year or 2, I can make both happen. But Tino, so you come away with the win here. Great
Oh
team.
yeah, I did.
I mean, great victory there. You now have twice as many wins as anyone here. Got a little ahead of myself with the Martinsville picture there. But yeah, we donate to the Ryan Blaney Family Foundation. Tell us a little bit why you picked that one.
Well, I think one of the biggest things that I saw was Ryan Blaney just dominating all throughout the race at Homestead. And that was one of the things we had talked about on the show, right? Can he beat Kyle Larson? Can he beat Christopher Bell, Tyler Reddick, and all the other drivers, William Byron at that track? And he just was the entire day. And I think the biggest thing that I saw was he deserved to have that win. And just to see his engine go bad again this season, where in the next gen era, I haven't seen engines blow up that many times, to see twice in one season for Ryan Blaney. That was one reason why I had, thought about donating to him, but then also, everything that they support over there at the Ryan Blaney Foundation, the Ryan Blaney Family Foundation, that is, research for people with concussions and a lot of other good things for brain injuries, Alzheimer's, and that sort of thing. You got to feel for Ryan Blaney not being able to go out and get that victory. So with that being said, I thought that'd be a good spot to sort of send our donation to after Homestead Miami.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, and that's what this is all about. So, Chris, tonight, I know you watched, but there are no wrong answers on the show. It can even be a gut feel or a pivot off of one of us if you want to try to, get Phil his first win. Let's jump into a quick race preview. Chris will be handling that tonight. So let's talk a little bit about Martinsville. And, again, this can be pretty quick, just a basic overview of the track, details about the race. So go ahead, take it away, Chris.
Yeah, so we're heading to Martinsville, Virginia, where it's a half mile, if you want to be particular, it's 0.526 mile track with flat straights, 12-degree banking on the turns. For anybody that's maybe new to the sport, its nickname is the paperclip, because if you get a bird's eye view of it, that's exactly what it looks like. Yeah, there you go. We talk about track comps. Honestly, pretty unique track. Some people might want to look at short flats. Closest is probably North Wilkesboro, but if you're looking at 2025, best comp maybe Bowman Gray. I mean, it's really unique. You just kind of look at it by itself, to be completely honest. Look at track history there. Number of laps, we're looking at 80 in the first stage, 100 in the second stage, 220 in the last stage. The tire compound is the same as what we ran in the Martinsville Fall Race and also at the Clash at Bowman Gray earlier this year. And it's not there's no like two different tire sets going on. It's just one, they're calling it softer tire. Practice and qualifying is at 2:05 on Saturday, 1 round, 2 lap qualifying, race at 3 on Sunday. And as of current, we are not going to talk about the weather. We're just going to leave it there.
Yeah. I was there at the 2022 spring race that was known as like the most boring Martinsville race of all time. And they got rain at that race too. So it might just be that time of year up here. And even in New York, still in the Northeast, we had like nothing but rain from like Monday on. So hopefully it'll all stay away for the weekend. But yeah, great race preview. So for those who don't know how this works, there are 8 teams listed on the left. We're all going to pick one driver from those teams. The best of the rest is any driver from someone that's not on one of those teams listed there. And a wild card can be from any team, even a team that you've drafted someone else on, and it can be one of those other drivers. So anyone else you see fit to round out your roster. I say we just kind of get right into it then, guys. Martinsville is going to be a fun one. You did mention it has the same compound. So as last year's Martinsville Fall Race and Bowman Gray. And so even if like we struggle to see a comp to Martinsville, NASCAR's got to see something to bring in that same tire to the Clash. And then, I don't know, it's got to be something there. All right. So 2311 is the first team on the board. Tino, you're leading it off this week. You've got twice as many wins as anyone. Start it off. Bring that energy.
All right, well, I'm going to go with someone that's been bringing the energy to the racetrack each and every week this season and maybe a little bit underrated in that same sense. Show me the board here, right there, and put on 2311 for me, Bubba Wallace. I mean, maybe it seems like an obvious choice with him being, teammates with Tyler Reddick, Riley Herbst. No one I don't think is going to dare to go in Herbst's direction just yet this season. But for Bubba, I actually feel confident about this pick in terms of what he can do on this racetrack and what he has been doing. So when I'm looking at, his average speeds and finishing positions, at least in this race last year, he was running top 5 all day. We had the Hendrick Motorsports, 1, 2, 3 finish, and then everything, Bowman was up there too, 40th anniversary, all that hoopla. But Bubba was right in that mix too. I believe he almost got the pole as well. Kyle Larson barely beat him out there in that instance. If we're talking same tire compound, he didn't have the same result in terms of the same speed that he had in the spring in the fall race, but that's not necessarily something that I'm taking too much into account. I think he's got a lot of great momentum. He has some great top 10s at this track recently as well. So I think all those things combined, coming off of what could have been a win at Homestead Miami, but he just got beat as Bowman did by Kyle Larson, best driver in the world. So to see all that coming together this season for him, I think you put him at a track like Martinsville. I'm expecting a top 5 finish for Bubba Wallace this weekend.
Nice. I love that, and I'm gonna just piggyback off that here. My pick was also Bubba Wallace. A lot of tire talk so far, so might as well talk about 4 tire stops. And I have this team in just pure beast mode right now. Top 3 in the 4 races I've tracked in 4 tire pit stops. That's going to be very important in this race. I mean, getting in and out of pit road, trying to gain spots when you can, because passing might be hard until you get later in a run or something, and these tires fall off. But Bubba, yeah, great runs here. 3 top tens in the 6 Gen 7 races. He's also qualified in the top 10 in 3 of those races, where Reddick's he's finished top 10 once and has only qualified once inside the top 10. So just kind of, and Bubba should be going off real late here, qualifying as well after a strong run last week. So I think he'll qualify well. Our simulations have Bubba fair versus Reddick minus 133. So give me Bubba here. And again, yeah, not really thinking about Herb. So give me Bubba. Chris, who you got?
Yeah, I hate to join the party here, but I'm also going Bubba. This is just not a Tyler Reddick track, and I'm a Tyler Reddick guy. I'm a fan of Tyler Reddick, and I just know that Martinsville is not a place where you're going to target him. But not to mention, like when you actually dig in the numbers, Bubba is just better anyways. Like regardless of what you think about how Tyler Reddick runs here, he's been very much very better. I mean, and not only that, you just mentioned 3 out of 6 top 10s here in the next gen era. 2 of those have been in the spring race. So
Yep.
he also seems to perform better just in the spring in general. So, yeah, you mix all that with just the fact that he all around just seems to be better than Reddick has ever fared here. His average finish over the next gen era is 9th. Qualifies well here as well, like you mentioned, he's going to be qualifying towards the back or towards the end of the order. There's other spots to be contrarian, and this isn't it. So I'm going to join.
All right, cool. Yeah, and don't worry about being chalky here. It's a lot of times they're only going to have, especially at a track like this. I mean, we're only going to have maybe 2 different drivers from one another. So
Yeah,
don't feel bad about piling it on there. Plus, you can't just make a crazy pivot for Phil because he's got to
Yep.
get a win here someday. So
I was thinking the same thing.
pick your
Phil
spots.
just wants
Pick
you
your
to
spots.
win.
I mean, so that this is a good segue though into our next team, because I think with front row here, you could make an argument for all 3 guys. I'll go first then, because I think this is probably the chalky pick, and then if one of you want to pivot, you can. But I'm going to go with Todd Gilliland here, and I don't really have much to say here. I mean, he's got 3 finishes or 13th or better, and that's about all you can say. I mean, there's nothing great about any numbers that jump off the page here about speed or anything like that at this track. He's just okay and solid. I think that's probably all he needs to do to beat his teammates here. We had some of the win the race guys betting his top 10 at 14-1 was out there. That shows mega value in our 20,000 simulations. So if you can find any number, 10 or above, I would definitely be on that if you didn't get it already. And that's really it. I can't really say much. Like I said, I think he's a step above his teammates, just kind of like what we just talked about with Bubba. But, like I think Zane had a good finish at Phoenix. Not saying Phoenix is here, but it's the one like short track package race we saw this year. And Gragson, was good here in the Xfinity series. So I don't know. You guys could sway me or pick something else here, but I'm going Todd Gilliland. Let's go right back to Chris. Chris, who you got here?
Yeah, so this is the first one where I was curious to see where you guys were going to go first, because I'm pretty on the fence between the same two guys, Gregson and Gilliland here. I'm gonna go Noah, but I want to add a point to your Gilliland take, is that his qualifying numbers. I mean, he does laps around Gregson in qualifying. His worst qualifying position is 17th in the
Oh,
next gen
uh,
era.
yeah, yeah. Well, I actually have that here. I don't know why I skipped over that line. Yeah, he's qualified between 10th and 19th in
Yeah,
all six Gen 7 races. So he's never qualified outside the top 20. That's
right.
crazy.
And Noah's never qualified inside the top 20. So it's pretty wild to look at that. But I'm gonna go off your last point with Noah, man. You look at him in the Xfinity series, and he was dominant. I mean, we're talking one finish outside the top 5 in his Xfinity series career. And he did finish 11th here in the fall. Now, that wasn't SHR, different team this year. SHR typically had a lot more success here, but I'm going to bank on success of what he learned at SHR, what he learned at the Xfinity series, and I'm going to trust that he can get it done here, at least over these other two.
Yeah, that's good. He's still in the Ford camp.
Yeah.
It's not like Briscoe switching where you got to kind of relearn everything. And he's brought some really good speed this year. He's had some terrible luck at times, but he's had some fast cars. So I love it, man. That's why it's funny that we go super chalky and then we get in the front row and it's just like you can just throw a dart. But all right, Tino, you're up.
As much as I want to pick Zane Smith to just go completely different, I got to stick to my roots here. I'm going Todd Gilliland. I liked everything you had to say, Ryan, but one of the main things to go along with that was how you mentioned he just needs to be solid. And I think for a lot of these teams on the board, or at least some of them, right? Some in terms of front row, Spire, maybe RFK at times, who's going to be the most solid for these teams, right? I'm not expecting Todd Gilliland to go out there, get us a top 5, or even necessarily top 10. Top 10 would be great, right? You talk about the odds out there. Maybe that's something, we may look forward to depending on where he starts. But that's another big thing for me is starting position. Started in 6 of his races he has at this track. He started inside the top 20 in all of them. I think that's a big thing. If he can get that track position early, he can hang around in there. Another thing I wanted to know too was with him being now in that 34 car, does that gave him a little bit of extra speed that he hasn't had in the recent years. He has 6 races all in 38, maybe gets that extra boost, and we haven't seen him be a factor in the past few races, at least this season, which makes sense. They're not necessarily Todd Gilliland tracks. Beginning of the year, he was up there, super speedways. Gregson's sort of taken over. Zane Smith had his good run at Phoenix. I think it's time we see Todd G back in the mix in this one.
Awesome. Yeah, I love all that. Let's just stick with you then and head into another one where we're gonna have quite a few ways we could go here. So kick off Hendricks for us. Who do you got for Martinsville?
Oh, yeah. All right. I'm looking forward to this one. Before I do just that, got to give a shout out to Brian who hopped in the chat. He said, "What's up, gents? Sorry I'm late. Was mowing the lawn." I thought that was funny because I just look outside my window. It's pitch black in New York.
Yeah, same
So,
here.
but Robert also, when we were on talking 2311, he did note the crew chief pick for Bubba Wallace has been working out greatly. And I think so. I think it's that plus his positive mentality this season's been good. And then Team 54, who we may get into with Joe Gibbs, he said this is easily his least favorite track. He expects to run 49th all day long. You guys will turn it around eventually, hopefully. I'm sure. All right, moving forward to Hendrick Motorsports. Guys, comment in the chat. Let us know who you would pick for Hendrick. And I think this is awesome. This, I feel like we can go any of which way, especially seeing Bowman's run last weekend at Homestead. That was a great confidence booster for him. And seeing that, I thought that was awesome to see, the 48 car come alive and lead laps, which we don't really see that often comparatively to the 24, to the 5. And I guess you could say the 9 too, but Chase Elliott hasn't really been leading laps that much in recent years that we've seen compared to 24 and the 5 car. And with that being said, put Chase Elliott on the board for me here. And this is why. I watched the Clash, right? I'm sure most people did. And if you didn't, Chase Elliott dominated that whole thing. If there's any track that the Clash and Bowman Gray could compare to, it would be Martinsville. And seeing that, I feel confident putting Chase Elliott up here. He was running up front all in Martinsville in this race last season, got beat by William Byron and Kyle Larson. But in the second Martinsville race, which the tire compound will be using is that one from that race, he just got passed by Ryan Blaney. So to see that happen there, gives me more confidence in Chase Elliott than I normally have when putting him up against William Byron and Kyle Larson. And I do want to ask you guys here before we get to the next pick. So Ryan, you start off. Chris, I want to know your thoughts as well with this question. What are your thoughts on Alex Bowman? Because he's opening up to win outright this weekend. I'm seeing him 30-1 right now on Caesars. I don't think that's I think that's pretty crazy value for a driver in Hendrick Motorsports equipment and someone that was contending for the win last weekend. But here's why I'm trying to sort of make sense of that. He has to go out and beat all 3 Hendrick Motorsports cars if he's going to do so. And I think maybe you factor that in. Do you guys think that's why he's, 30-1 to win this weekend for the 48?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely why. And it's not just going out and beating his own guys. He's got to beat Ryan Blaney, who's got, 5 top fives here in his last 6 races in Gen 7 era. It's like he's got 2 wins in his last 3 races here. There's just a lot to contend with. I mean, we're going to talk probably about some Denny. Logano's a top 10 machine here. There's just a lot of competition here at Martinsville. So 30-1, I don't know where we have him as fair. Yeah, I mean, we wouldn't be betting them at 30-1. So no. Yeah, I think it's more than fair. Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. Like, there's certain tracks that I like Alex Bowman at. I just don't think Martinsville is the track for him. And last week is I didn't expect him to hang around up front, to be completely honest. Like, he qualified in the pole. I was like, wow, he's going to drop like a rock. And he stuck it out. Like, all props to him. But yeah, I don't know. At Martinsville, I think he's, like you just put the comment up there, I think he's 4th in his own camp this week. And I just don't, and Ryan just said it too. Like, you've got Blaney, you've got Hamlin, Logano, maybe even Bubba, right? We just talked about Bubba. Like, you've got a lot of guys to contend with, and I just don't know if Bowman has the grit to get it done at a track like Martinsville.
Yeah, I think HMS has won the last 3 spring races, and it hasn't been Bowman. So
True. So are we betting Hendrick to win? That from Kyle? Is that what you guys are thinking there? Because Hendrick, like you guys said, Hendrick Motorsports has dominated Martinsville. It's playing, and if not, it's been Ryan Blaney. But like, I feel like it's either those 3 cars / Bowman, because he did win once a few years back, or Ryan Blaney. So would you bet Hendrick Motorsports to win this weekend?
It's close. We have a little bit of value on numbers out there. I was actually waiting till more books. Like, they seem to be taking a lot longer to come out. I wanted to see more Hendrick's numbers to win before I made that decision. But if a certain, number comes out there and we show a lot of value on it, then yeah, I have no problem doing that because, like we just said, they've won every spring Gen 7 race. You do have to worry about Blaney.
Yeah.
Blaney's going to be there. It's just, I don't know why he only wins in the fall, but he'll be there. So what do you call him? Bridesmaid Blaney? Or is that Phil's thing? Is that your thing, Tino, or is that Phil's thing?
No, I got to give, that's Phil. That's Phil.
That's Phil? Okay. Yeah. So Blaney the bridesmaid. All right, I'll get back to it here because I'm picking the same guy. And this surprised me because I don't use the Clash in anything that I do. It's in my mind. Totally agree with it. I see the correlation, but I don't use it in anything I do. I just put the numbers in and let it blindly spit out the pre-practice qualifying scores. And Elliott came out number 1. It was a barely number 1, but it was number 1. So I have to trust that right off the bat. He was pushed out to like 9-1 on FanDuel. I can bet there, but not what I'd love to. But I did bet what they allowed me to on the 9-1. If that's still around anywhere, I'd take that. But yeah, everything you said is correct about Chase. I love the correlation to Bowman and to the last run here on this tire. And this is a track where he's led a ton of laps in the Gen 7 era too. He just hasn't won, but he has won here before the Gen 7 era. So it's not like he can't do it at Martinsville. So yeah, give me Chase Elliott. Chris, who do you got?
I'll be honest, my notes were prepared for Chase. I have also bet Chase the same 9-1 on FanDuel as well. But this is the spot to be contrarian because they're all so close. This is a spot to be a little different. So I'm going to go Kyle Larson here. So give me the 5. Yeah, I put kind of my own data set together as well. So I've got a bunch of different numbers I kind of throw together. Chase was number 1 for me, but Larson was a very close second. So yeah, I mean, Larson missed out on the triple header last weekend. Should have gotten triple header because he almost lapped the entire Xfinity field. So you think he's going to still want a little bit more. He still has that knack for winning a little bit in the back of his head. So why not bring it on to Martinsville, Virginia?
Yeah, that's awesome. That's how I have it too. Actually, it's incredibly hard to get a tie in my pre-practice qualifying scores, but I have Larson's one of the two tied right behind him within 0.14 points of that top spot. So yeah, it is tight. But yeah, if you're going to pivot, I think Larson's definitely the dude. All right, let's head to Joe Gibbs. This one might be a little chalky, but I do think there's more than one option here. I'll lead it off here, and I'll just go with Denny Hamlin. Uh, this one, again, I think is the chalky choice, though. He's, a couple things about GGR. It's not one of Christopher Bell's best tracks. We mentioned that with Reddick in 2311. This is just not one of Bell's best places. He has won here before, but it's not one of his best. Ty Gibbs, again, we already heard from Team 54 himself. He's going to be running 49th all day. That's, by the way, our tools on Win the Race do not go. If you check the over-unders, doesn't go all the way up to 49. So I don't know the odds on that.
That's straight from the source too. I mean, you got to take it for what it's worth.
Yeah, you got to trust that. So, yeah, got to trust that. So we get rid of Ty here. Across our 20,000 sims, Denny is our second favorite actually to win the race. So that's what's cool about the simulations compared to my pre-practice and qualifying scores is that the scores are only one element that goes into it. When we do sim everything out 20,000 times, Denny comes in second place there with as far as the odds go to win the race. He's got 4 top 5s in his last 5 races here. And I only like looking at those 5 races too, because if you remember how the Toyotas came in early season in the first year of Gen 7, they were like lost. So that's a fine one for me to throw away. Since then, 4 top 5s in his last 5. In stage 2, he hasn't finished outside of 3rd in any of those 5 races. So you get to the later part of the race, Denny's running up front. And that stat right there, plus everything else that we do and showing value on it, he's plus 115 on Rivers for a top 5. We have that fair at minus 113. So I do like the top 5 number on Denny that's out there. I think you can get him even on like ESPN too. ESPN also, not like ESPN bet too. And one bet that I'll mention here, because it's completely JGR related, I did take Briscoe minus 105 over Bell. So, and I'll mention the bet too, because we just talked about Hendrick. I took Byron minus 130 over Bell. So it's largely a fade Bell week for me. All right, let's go right to Chris. Chris, who do you got here for GGR?
I'm going to actually not go chalky here as well. I'm going to go Chase Briscoe here. My only other click so far is Briscoe at 16-1. I just took that a little bit ago actually on MGM. Yeah, so a large part of it is first qualifying. I mean, he is insanely good at qualifying here. His last 4 qualifying, 5th, 4th, 3rd, and 4th. Note that isn't an SHR car, right? We do have that Ford Toyota swap here. But I'm just going to trust the driver talent here. I'm going to trust the fact that he likes this track. He likes to qualify here. I know that we have the tire. I know that we should see more passing, but we also have seen snoozers at Martinsville where qualifying can be very important and getting that number 1 pit stall can be very important. So I'll start with that. And then the second point I have is he's actually only one of 5 guys to finish top 10 in all 6 next gen races at Martinsville. And none of those other guys were JGR guys. So we're going with the guy in the 19 and the guy who also was really good at this track. If we do have that weather, Martinsville Monday, Martin in the Martin car.
We're going Chase Briscoe. Nice tie in there. One thing you mentioned all his qualifying stats. So yeah, that was with Stuart Haas, and he switches over to JGR. But Truex has qualified in the top 5. I think the last 4 times out here, and has won the pole twice. So that car's been even stronger than what Briscoe's bringing. So
True.
Very strong candidate to win the pole. I know Greg bet that. I did forget too. I have Briscoe bet to win at 15-1. So I do like that. And I saw he was out to like 16-1 somewhere. I put it in Discord.
MGM,
but yeah, MGM. Yeah. So I love that number of 16 on him. And we do show value in the simulations there. Tino, who you got for JGR?
I think you guys both brought up some good points. Chris, you got me thinking I might have hopped on the Chase Briscoe train, especially with Ryan and I looking pretty similar. But I'm gonna have to stay true to my Denny Hamlin thoughts here. That was what I've been thinking about all after I saw his Homestead Miami performance there. I think obviously I'm not comparing the tracks, but I am comparing the speed in that car, and especially seeing him come from the back towards the front. That's one of his tracks too, at least thinking about Denny right now, where he's been fast at Homestead Miami throughout his entire career, and maybe he got a little bit more out of that car. And I think this is another instance where you go to Martinsville, he may be able to do just that. Ryan, you listed pretty much every stat you could have named for Denny, and I appreciate that. I think one that I want to note as well was 461 laps led in the last 5 races, but no wins here, right? No wins. The last win that the last win he got was in 2015. So I can see the storylines. Oh, it's been 10 years since Denny's last win in Martinsville, and he gets it done. So that's why I got to go with Denny Hamlin. But I also do want to note, Team 54 in the chat said this: Chris Gale is horrible at Martinsville, so unless Gabe Hart is pulling the puppet strings, I don't think Denny does well. But hey, he's been wrong about everything else. Well, I don't know about everything, but that's something to note. Hey, maybe there we can see Chris pull off a little Chase Briscoe better than Denny Hamlin action there.
Nice. I love it. Yeah, we are the same team right now, but I'm confident that's going to change soon. So we'll see. All right, let's head into Penske. So this one I do think is going to be pretty chalky. I'll just lead it off here, and if you guys have anything to add for Ryan Blaney, let me know. But that's my pick. To me, this might be his best track. You know, he's got no finish worse than 7th here in the 6 Gen 7 races. He's won the last 2 races in the fall. He has a top 5 finish in 10 of his 14 runs here with Penske. So 10 out of 14 top 5s, pretty insane. Same tire compound as the fall. Blaney's turning into this guy where, like, you know, I don't think he used to be like this. Unless I'm just misremembering it. But like in the Gen 7 era, like for tracks that wear, he's getting really good at being fast late in the run. So, you know, that's what we saw last time in Martinsville. So if the same things play out, I know the weather might be a little different, but the same type race plays out, love him on the long run. I'm waiting to bet anything Blaney because he's only qualified top 10 in 2 of the Gen 6 Gen 7 races. He's actually only qualified top 5 4 times in his 14 runs here total with Penske. So I can't really see his numbers getting any worse, you know, unless it's the one time he goes out there and pulls it or whatever. But history would tell us he might not qualify well here, so I'm just waiting to see where those numbers go. But the books have been much smarter, you know, knowing who's fast, long run practice, stuff like that. We'll see. So, Tino, let's jump right back to you. Who do you got here for Penske?
Oh, I got Ryan Blaney, and everyone in the chat just started going off, and I love it. I'm going to start pulling these comments up. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to ask the chat a question. At what lap do you think Ryan Blaney's engine blows up? Because this is setting up for another example of he wanting to get his get back. He's excited. Like, I talked about it leading into the show, leading into the race weekend in Homestead, Miami. He's going out for revenge. He wants to get the win at Homestead because he lost on the final corner to Reddick. And I mean, I was exactly right. It wasn't, you know, he's done that before. And that's been my thing with Blaney, is recognizing that each time he has a chance to go out and get revenge or get redemption or whatever you want to call it, he does it. And this is another instance where I can look back at last week. Well, he should have had the win. His engine blows up. I think he's going to go out and race really strongly in this track. Even if he doesn't get the win, he's going to lead a bunch of laps and put himself in position to do so. I think it was funny, too, Garrett saying tuned up engine just blowing up everywhere. And that's the thing, too, is like, I don't know why this keeps happening to him. Kyle saying Blaney's the right pick, but I don't hate the Logano pivot. Hey, could we see that from Chris here? I'm excited to see. Robert also saying Blaney was the best at the Clash, and that was big for me, too, right? I mentioned Chase Elliott. But how about Ryan Blaney, who I believe he started last in the Clash and finished second, like drove his way all the way through the field? That was big. And like you mentioned too, Ryan, it's just that tire wear. He's the best at managing his stuff on a long green flag run, especially at a short track like this. Brian saying without an engine failure and a wreck, we might be staring at a 4th straight Blaney win. this week. Yeah, exactly. Right. He
Yeah,
could have
he's been
had
fast.
that many in a row. Yeah, wild too. And then, so Big Ross saying Blaney qualifies early too, which plays into our favor if you want to get more value later on in the week after practice and qualifying. Plus 450 I'm seeing right now. Definitely staying off that. It seems like he always I love Blaney so much at these types of racetracks every single week because he wants to qualify outside the top 10, gives us more value, we hammer, and then he ultimately looks like he's going to win the race before his engine blows up.
Yeah, he's a good guy, I think, to wait on for all those reasons. And then also too, like I can't do it this week because I'll be hanging out with my family. But if you can live bet, I mean, this pit crew of his is a disaster. So we saw it last week. He lost like 3 seconds. Byron almost catches him. In the 4 races that I've tracked, he's not even that team's not even in the top 20 in 4 tire pit stops. So they've had some pretty bad ones. So that's another one too. Like if you are watching the race live and he does lose some spots or something, maybe you find a better number there. But again, you could just wait till after qualifying. Chris, who you got here for Penske?
Yeah, there's no reason to pivot here. Just go ahead and type in Ryan Blaney.
All right,
and Brian's stealing all my thoughts here in the comments, but qualifying doesn't matter for Blaney. Like practically, like he's going to have a good car. He's gonna make it to the front. It doesn't matter where he starts. We've seen it at Martinsville. We've seen it at the Clash. He knows how to get his way back up to the front, especially at these short tracks. The next comment that Brian commented on, it was something I actually had written down as well. On the Dale Jr. download, TJ Majors, who's a spotter for Brad Keselowski, talked about how just visually from the spotter stand, you can see that Ryan Blaney's the best guy in the track. Like it's not even a secret to anybody up there. He runs a very unique line, like Brian said, but they also comment on the fact that he's the first one to get back to his throttle midway through the corner, and nobody else can like have that control, have that diamond that he has. So he's just far and away better. I do agree that I think this is his best track, and there's no reason to pivot here. But keep Logano in mind.
Ask Brian if you can, or I'll ask Brian. Brian, why do you think he gets shorter after qualifying? So let's wait for him to comment on that. Chris, why don't you go ahead and lead us off then here with RFK while we wait for an answer from Brian there?
Yeah. So I'm going to stick with the short tracker here. I'm going to go with Ryan Preece. I going into this, I didn't really know what the numbers were going to tell me, but man, the numbers are there for Ryan Preece more than I thought they were going to be. Better average finish than all three of these guys. Better average qualifying. He was better at the Clash. He maintained his spots at the Clash. Like he started up there in the fall race as well. Although he was running top 10 or top 5 at some points, he maybe wasn't passing to go forward, but he wasn't losing spots. He just makes himself really hard to get around. He knows how to work his way around these tracks. This is what he grew up doing. He still does it. He races a modified. He's kind of like Larson in the sprint car world, except he's doing modifieds.
Love it.
And we already talked about how qualifying was a big thing for SHR, but it's also a problem with RFK. So that's my only thing with Preece is he could qualify pretty rough here, but I trust him more than these other three to work his way up there.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything you said right there. I'm taking Ryan Preece. He was my pick all day there. One thing I'll just add, I have him, that team, top 10 in 4-tire pit stops in the 4 races I've tracked too. So just an overall great team effort here from really this team and Busher. And then it's their team owners just like, down there 30th in the points, and they just are slow every single week. It's very weird. It's like he's just giving them like all their power, and it's like, all right, you boys run with it now. I'm going to retire soon or something. I don't know. But yeah, dude, you mentioned everything. I can't really add anything more other than what I noticed in the pit stop. So, Tino, do we have an answer from Brian yet?
We do not have an answer from Brian. I'm going to shoot him a text as well to ask that question.
That's all right. I can talk to him in Discord too. I was just wondering with all
the
qualifying stuff we talked about. I guess one thing
he is the qualifying master. He knows all the order and everything. He's been on that. So that's definitely his expertise.
I think it's that the books are smarter now, like looking at practice data. There's way more data out there now for them to look at and to smarten up. So they know who people like us expect to be fast at the end of the race. So, he could be right. Maybe we'll have to switch up that strategy that's worked, waiting. All right, Tino, who do you got? RFK here.
Got to be Ryan Preece. Not only everything you guys have mentioned in terms of him being a short track racer. And Chris, I loved how you alluded to him, being like a Kyle Larson, shout out High Limit Racing in the sprint car series there. But on the modifieds and the short tracks, I thought that was a great comparison to how Priest has been running, or at least how he continuously runs in those type of races and loves to be on a short tracks and is a short track guy. Now, I will say this too. He's coming off of back-to-back top 10s, I believe, for the first time in his career. To have that momentum going for you into Martinsville, a track that he thrives at, hey, maybe he even wins this week. I have to throw that out there. I really genuinely believe he could be in a position, and he's the type of guy, if he qualifies up towards the front, he did it one year where he won the pole and led, I think, 150 laps, and if it wasn't for a pit road issue, I think he was speeding on pit road, that's what cost him, the lead, and then he never was able to recover from that. To me, I think if we see him qualify inside the top 10, I don't think he loses positions, is what I'm trying to say. I think he's the type of guy where you're going to have to muscle Ryan Priest out of the way, and good luck doing that at Martinsville. Big Ross also saying, agreeing with you, Ryan, and everything else you guys were saying about his pit crew being surprisingly good. And one bet that I got to throw out there for Ryan Priest, since we're talking about it here, although we've seen RFK qualify poorly, I think maybe we see this trend break with Ryan Priest here at Martinsville, and I don't want to miss out on plus money for a top 10. Plus 130 right now on Bet Rivers for a top 10 for Ryan Priest. I think I may as well take that before practicing qualifying. That may be on me if that number goes up, but I don't want to lose out on that if he wins the pole. What do you guys think?
No, we have value on that. I took it at 140. So I forgot to mention that. I have the top 10 at 140. It's not available, like you said, but the 130 I would still take. Also bet him 45 to 1 to win. We didn't have much value on that, but still value where we showed it. So I did take that as well. I'd probably bet that down to like 40, which I think 40 is still out there and available. So if you did want to just take a stab at that. But yeah, way to mention that there. Sometimes I have, too many notes here. I breeze over it by accident. But yeah, the Priest top 10, especially with what you said, that, qualifying, he's going off late. He's already a good qualifier.
Yeah.
So yeah, awesome stuff. He's in the last spot of the playoffs right now. I think he's in 16th. I mean, I know it's way too early to be talking about that, but it's still got to be a pretty cool feeling for him. I bet, he'll never probably admit this, but if you asked him before the season, like, you're going to be 16th in points heading into Martinsville, it'd be like, he'd sign up to that, immediately. Sounds great.
Yeah.
All right, Tino, why don't you lead off Spire here? Spire's another team I think we can go many different ways. So curious to see what you do here, especially since you and I are going to have to get a little different here soon.
Well, perfect. Before I do just that, it seems that we do have an answer in from Kyle in terms of the Brian question we were asking about Ryan Blaney. We were asking, or Brian said he will only get shorter post-practice and qualifying or post-qualifying there. We want to know, and let's see what Kyle said here. Blaney went out early and qualified fine at Homestead. He will be strong in qualifying, and the books are getting smarter to not overreact as aggressively to qualifying. So hey, I think that pretty much is what we were thinking anyways, but good to know. Appreciate it, Kyle, there. And for my Spire pick, I'm going to go Carson Hocevar. I'm not going to lie. I did not do too much research into Spire this weekend. I will say I did see Justin Haley has only finished from, I believe it was like 24th to 30th or something like that at this track. I did see that, so I knew it wasn't going him. And then when it comes to Michael McDowell, I just kind of felt like from what I've seen so far this season, Hocevar has had continuously better cars, or at least speed. Now, will we see him get into trouble at this type of racetrack? I think yes. But because of that, I'm still going to go Carson Hocevar if he can stay out of trouble. We saw him, too, also have a strong car at Homestead. I expected that for that type of racetrack. But if they can continuously bring that raw speed to the track, and if he can stay out of trouble, maybe he can bring it home with the top 20, and then, I win.
Nice. All right. Yeah, I like it. And like you said, I mean, he is a driver you'd have to be kind of nervous here with, but it's like that everywhere with him.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah, Chris, who do you got here for Spire?
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with Hocevar as well. For me, it really this one was tough. I mean, because none of them are great here. This is pretty rough. The numbers are not great for any of them. But what it comes down to me is what have you done for me lately? And Hocevar has been the only one that has shown remotely anything of these three. I could not tell you where Justin Haley finished the last three races. He's just been non-existent. So yeah, I think Hocevar, yes, he's probably going to get himself into trouble, but he's also going to be the guy that's going to give it back too. So I just trust him the most of these three guys, which is crazy because I coming into this, I thought I might lean Haley because Haley had that class success a few years ago where like he like kept showing up at these shorter tracks, but when it comes to like a regular season, he's not there.
All right, well, I'll do it. I'll take the old veteran here. That's who I had written down anyways, but I'll go Michael McDowell. You know, sneakily, you say all this stuff about Carson Osvar having the best car every week. Well, who's ahead in the points? Michael McDowell. And what are we trying to earn here? Points. So I'm going for the W here. But I did have McDowell anyways. Really just like you said, there's not one cool thing you can say about any of the three here for Martinsville, statistic wise or data, anything you want to call it. But you know, McDowell's ran here like 25 plus times in his cup career. Uh, you know, a lot of good experience. And maybe this will be one of the better cars he's ever had here because who dominates the spring Martinsville races? Hendricks. And who makes their engines, their HMS engines? So I don't know. Maybe McDowell can figure something out here. He's got, you know, the familiarity with his crew chief from the last couple of years. So there's, I don't know. It just seems like the most consistent, sneaky, under the radar, decent finish that could be out there with this group. Carson Hocevar, I would agree, might have the most upside, but there is that downside there too because he's, you know, so aggressive. So I don't know. Give me the old vet here, Michael McDowell. I'll lead us right into. You guys don't have any Spire bets, do you? I know. Crappy. Yeah, the slow car bets are for Phil as well. All right, so I'll do Trackhouse here. I'll lead it off. This one again might be pretty chalky. Going Ross Chastain has nothing to do with the Hail Melon, but you know he has never finished worse than 14th here with Trackhouse. So I don't think he has. You know, will come in with a race winning car, but he won't come in with crap either. At least he hasn't yet in the 6 races. So pretty cool runs here for him. Again, never like in winning contention. But Suarez too, like you know, I wasn't considering SVG for this, just how slow he's been. But we can talk about him a little bit because there might be that correlation to Bowman Gray where he did run pretty well, and he ran well at Martinsville here in the fall. But either way, I can't pick him with how slow he's been. Suarez has 4 of 6 finishes outside the top 20. He's actually never beaten Chastain here. So I can't go with the guy who's 0-6 against his teammate. I got to go with the teammate that's 6-0. Give me Ross Chastain. Chris, who do you got here?
Yeah, you can go ahead and copy that over. Ross Chastain as well. You know, I've kind of alluded to the guys that are hard to pass, and here's another one, right? Like he's not going to make it easy to get around him. Now Suarez is equally pretty hard, but normally it's to stay on the lead lap, not to move into the top 10. Yeah, I think it's Ross for me as well. I do want to comment on SVG though, because you kind of alluded to, right? He let me switch over my notes here. He was 10th in the class, 12th in his first ever Cup race in Martinsville. And we always talk about how, like, you know, AJ Allmendinger runs here well as too. Like, it's that road course, like that braking mentality here. 14-1 for a top 10 is intriguing. I'm just gonna say that, but not for the purposes of this game. So yeah, Ross Chastain.
What's weird is like, I mean, I guess you take the speed away, right? So I guess that could be the thrill here of betting an SVG thing because like last week, practice and qualifying, I mean, he's so far off the pace. He's like barely ahead of the complete back markers, you know, like the Garage 66, those type teams that come into race. JJ Yelly, I think it was last week, who are just so far off the pace. He was like the next tier up, and then there's like the guys who are racing, you know, with the pack. So I don't know why that car has been so slow. It's kind of weird. But at Martinsville, you take the speed out.
And one other like weird thing that I heard today on it was on Stacking Pennies podcast. Drawing a blank on Corey's counterpart there. But anyways, he was talking about how he rode back on the plane with SVG, and SVG made the comment that he was like, man, this is tough. Like just talking about the grind of the NASCAR schedule and how it can combine on itself. Like you have a bad run, now you're gonna be qualifying bad, and then like that stacks into like it's just like it's a ladder effect, right? And it's like mentality, like mentally, it's just hard to climb back out of that. So that is a little worrisome that he's already making that comment. What, 6 races in the season?
No, he's got a long ways to go. Dude better buckle up.
Damn. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, 14-1. I probably wouldn't bet it. If I could find that Todd Gilliland one, that'd be one I could do. Because like you could take a 14-1 top 10 of Gilliland or SVG. Just look at the speed they brought this year. I mean, I gotta go Todd G there. But I wouldn't hate it. I mean, what if it is a breaking thing? You know, that's why
Right.
Elliott's good
Mhm.
here. So you mentioned AJ used to have good runs here. He's kind of sucked recently here, but
Yeah.
um, who knows? All right, Tino, why don't you finish off Trackhouse, and then I'm going to let you head right into best of the rest. But who do you got for Trackhouse here?
All right, well, one thing that we have to mention in this terms of the draft right now, we're currently drafting for Martinsville, but if you guys remember, early in the season or before the season started, in the season-long draft, I, unfortunately, at this point, took SVG pretty early. And I forget what round it was, but he was my guy. I thought he would be dominant on all the road courses and then have a chance when it came to these high-intensity braking short tracks. So I've been wrong so far. And well, we've only been to one road course, but Big Ross did mention that car was even slow at Coda, and that hurt. But if there's any time he can turn it around, it's going to be this week at Martinsville. And because he's on my season-long team, I'm rooting for it to happen. Right now, I don't remember all of the drivers on my team, but I do remember that SVG was taken by me very high. And that, to me, sits on my brain after every race weekend when he's spinning out in the back of the field, finishing almost dead last. And I'm like, yikes, I may not win my 2 diecasts that I want because of this. My point is, I'm going SVG this weekend. Last time he was at this track in a cup car, he started 29th and finished 12th. That's encouraging for me. I mean, the fact that he was able, and think about it too, that was in the 16 colleague car. I know how slow the 88 has been, but you got to imagine it should be better than that 16 last year. And when we're talking top 10s, I have no problem betting him right now, 14-1 to get a top 10 finish at this track. I will say, like you mentioned, Ryan, I'm seeing Todd Gillen at plus 950 for a top 10. And with how we talked about him earlier on in the show, I'm definitely, if I had to choose, I would definitely go in that direction. It makes me sad to see that he opened up at 17-1 and I missed that. But hey, I mean, plus 950 still is great value for me to go in a Todd Gillen direction. But I still like it. Shane Van Gisbergen, 14-1 to get a top 10 in this one, and that's why he's got to be my pick for Trackhouse. Sticking with that, I got to go my best of the rest. Another driver that should be good on a short track, and that's Josh Berry. Oh my gosh, Josh Berry is the man. Seeing what he's been able to do with the Wood Brothers this season has been awesome, and I think they just continue. This is the track where people expected him to probably get his first win, I would assume. Something like this, a Dover, a Bristol, you name it, those type of tracks, and we saw him win at Vegas. And we saw him had a strong run going for him at Homestead as well before he got spun out on pit road, synchronized spinning with Joey Logano there. To see Josh Berry in this position now, having that momentum. And I also mentioned, I did talk to him earlier today. I got a chance to interview him and sit down and say, you've been through your whole journey, right? You've exceeded expectations of becoming one of the best late model, stock car drivers on the circuit. Now you're winning in the Cup Series. Like, what does that feel like? What is that process like? Because he didn't even expect to really be in this spot now and winning races. He wanted to just be the best driver on Saturday when they would pull up to places like Bowman Gray, when they would pull up to places like North Wilkesboro. Well, here you go. You're already a winner this season in the Cup Series. Maybe if it comes down to it, they can do a little bit of strategy, but that's why I love Josh Berry in this instance at Martinsville.
I love it, man. That was my pick as well.
Nice.
Josh Berry here. Everything you said, spot on. I was between him and maybe Custer. Custer's burned me. Our Sims have Barry minus 141 versus Custer, so pretty good advantage there. But also too, what's selling me is the alliance with Penske, and we talked about Blaney's dominance here, Logano's dominance here. Well, we didn't really talk about that, but I got some Logano stuff I can drop as a little bonus. But unreal top 10 machine. Unreal top 10 machine here. And you know who finished a legit top 5 here in the fall on this tire? Austin Cindric. Penske
Wow.
guy. So, I don't know, man. It just seems like this team's getting a lot of love. And the other thing we can tie in too, so you mentioned his win at Vegas. That's a place he won at in the Xfinity Series. Never did that at Homestead, so we didn't expect to see it last week. But you know where else he's won in the Xfinity Series? Martinsville. And here we are. So
Nice.
give me Josh Berry. Hopefully you can keep the good times rolling. Chris, who do you got here?
Yeah, it was a two horse race for me here between Barry and Bush, but I'm going to stick with Barry as well. So Tino had his little humble brag about being able to interview Barry earlier. I'm going to jump on top of that. So the reason I had pit passes last week was because a friend of a friend got us those pit passes as the lead engineer for Josh Berry. So we were actually in pit road because of Josh Berry. And let me tell you, the confidence is flowing on that team. They're having fun. They just seem like they are already, like you said, already kind of exceed expectations, but that's not enough. Like they want to jump on this opportunity. And then you also touched on the fact, right? It's a Penske alliance, and it's clearly showing. And one of my, I think, worst betting beats of all time was I like told myself I was going to bet Josh Berry in his first ever Xfinity race at Martinsville, and for some reason I didn't do it. And then when he won that race at like 40-1 or whatever it was, I was so mad at myself. Yeah. So I'm not going to miss the opportunity again. We are going to choose him here, and we're probably going to find a bet for him on Sunday as well.
Nice. I like that. I think he's listed in some matchups out there. I don't have him in front of me at the moment, but yeah, after digging into this more, it's like I'm liking it more and more here. All right, so let's see how different we are here and see who we want to lead off the wild card round. So it looks like Tino and I got two.
Give it a Phil / Chris. Give it a Chris / Phil here. I feel like you got it. You got it.
Yeah. All right, Chris, lead us off. Wild card round. Who do you got?
I'm going Joe Logano.
Wow.
So when you talk about guys that are Martinsville as their track, Joe is one of those guys. So we talk about how good Ryan Blaney is, and that's nothing to take away from Ryan Blaney. But only him, Joey Logano, and Ryan Blaney are the only two guys in the entire field who have a top 10 finish at every next-gen race at Martinsville. All six. So Joey, yeah, he's not a guy to count out. This is not a track that we expect him to disappear at. He's going to be there. He's going to, like, at the very least, this guy's going to get a top 10. I considered Hamlin because I did pivot with Briscoe, but there's too much to like with this Ford and Penske camp to not want to finish out here with the 22 squad. So that's what we're going with.
Yeah, dude. So if you just go back 10 years, that's 20 races. He has 16 top 10s. I mean, that's ridiculous. Wow. That's through different generations of cars and dude just shows up here ready to race. So I love that pick with Joey Logano. I have two guys here that I was considering. So, Tino, if you only have one, I got one. Go, and then then I'll see which way I want to go. So why don't you go here? Your wild card pick for Martinsville.
All right. Well, I'm pretty sure I used him recently as my wild card in I think it was Vegas, and I won. So I'm sticking with him in a wild card fashion. That is William Byron at Martinsville. I think no matter how he does in qualifying, and we've alluded to that too, like maybe qualifying doesn't matter too much, as you know, the past few winners have started outside the top 9 around there. I saw Brian mention, but William Byron just always seems to have the strengths here, even when the car is bad. I feel like he's getting a top 5 or salvaging a top 10 type of day. And that's the type of driver I want here, especially with how fast Hendrick Motorsports has been at this track. I knew I had to have at least 2 Hendrick guys, and the only way to do it would be in the wild card round. It was between him or Larson. I think Byron gets it done. Just feel that. That's just sort of a feeling. I think it could be a toss-up between either one of them. But 6th here in the last race, obviously won from 18th in this specific race last year in the spring race. Then we had 13th, 23rd, but 7th, 1st, 5th, 4th. I think anytime you're looking at William Byron, he's normally running within the top 10 at these stages. The only times he really hasn't were those, bad 13th and 23rd place finishes there, where he didn't have a good car that day. But to me, I feel like William Byron gives me the best chance to go out here and win again. I'm just trying to stack my wins here.
Yeah, you are. That 2022 race, he won in the spring, and if it is similar weather, like a little cooler rain, that's exactly how that was. And he was just wicked fast that race, led a ton of laps. Him and Elliott basically, split the racing. Elliott led early for 100-something laps, and then Byron just took over from there. Late restart in that race, too, and he just took off. I mean, he was just great. I can't go away. So that leaves me with my first option. I was between Kyle Larson and Chase Briscoe. And if you took Larson, I was going to go with Briscoe here. But Larson, again, he struggled at Martinsville for the early part of his career. But then he comes to HMS and it's just like flipped on a dime with top 5 finishes in 5 of his 8 races with HMS. He hasn't finished worse than 6th in his last 5 races here. So the only one he was really bad in was it was mediocre, I should say, was that spring 2022 race where his teammates, led almost every lap in that race. Yeah, I mean, what else do I really got to say about Kyle Larson? I mean, dude's unreal. The last time we saw him in this tire in the fall, he led 71 laps. He finished 3rd. So I expect him to be up front. We talked about how HMS has won, every spring race here in the Gen 7 era. So it's only 3, but still, that's every one. So I wanted 2 HMS as well. And again, for anyone wondering, my backup there was Briscoe. So we talked about him a little bit earlier. I also have that, and I did think I mentioned this earlier. I have the Byron bet over Bell too. So Briscoe and Byron both bet over Bell. Yeah, man, this looks like a great draft. We did end up different, so it always starts out a little chalky, and then it gets a little different at the end there. A lot of fun. I always forget to click this thing on the side here, but yeah, it was great. So race Sunday, we're gonna pray the weather stays away. Chris, I thought you did a great job filling in for Phil tonight. I mean, that team can win. That could be a winner. So
That's the
maybe
goal.
get them on the
Hey,
board.
that's the
Yeah.
goal. The pinch hitter is going to go 2 for 2.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. We already did our, where you can find them stuff. So thank you guys, Tino, Chris. It's been a lot of fun. Everyone in the comments, thank you for commenting. It's so great to have all the interaction every week. That's what it's all about. And, again, we'll pick another cool charity to donate to next week. If anyone is just feeling it and wants to throw $1 at a charity, we're doing it too. Every little bit counts. So, you guys listening and interacting, all make it possible. So thank you guys. We'll be back next Wednesday, same time, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. And so, yeah, thank you for watching episode 8 of the draft. Have fun watching Martinsville this weekend.